Hello there, wolf pack. Want some candy? Too bad, go hunt your own. Your favorite web kitty, Catastrophe, is gearing up for his hunt for some spectacular horror trophies this year. And what higher horror award can you get than none other than the Predator? I totes love the Predator and savor his juicy flavor of nightmare fuel quite a lot, but I do have to explain him for all the newbies first. For those of you who don't recognize this apex legend, the Predators are actually an alien race of proud warriors who travel across the cosmos to hunt down and kill the greatest fighters of all time, so they can prove that their might is stronger. The Predators are basically savage poachers who frequently visit the Earth to take down the most badass opponents they can find, since if they defeat them, then their street cred as hunters goes up, and they seemingly gain higher and higher XP status among their species. A simple concept, but they have managed to slice their way into cinematic history as groundbreaking horror icons. What I love the most about their stories is that the Predator is not your typical slasher villain, at least at first. The Predators don't stalk and massacre random idiots, partying teenagers, or any unlucky, unsuspecting fools who crosses their paths. They actually attack people who stand a chance at fighting back, seeking a challenge. However, the Predators are so tough that they can endure anything, and dive straight into brutal combat without fear. It is much scarier horror when the victims are smart and fully capable badasses who can win against the monster, but the monster is just that difficult a boss fight. The Predator is ultra confident, horrifying in his sheer power, and the fact that he's gladly going after folks who are known for fighting demonstrates the creature's terror perfectly. After all, if freaking Arnie and Danny Glover struggle against this foe, then these ghouls must be the true ultimate warriors.
I have the power of 1,000 suns!
Predators have real creative designs, epic skills, cool murder gadgets, deadly intellect, some admittedly unique depth, a fearsome presence, and a grisly, monstrous motive, forming them into the most iconic horror antagonists ever. Naturally, as a high-profile 80s baddie, this dude has been merchandised like crazy, earning several films, comics, novels, video games, crossovers, Batman meetings, parodies, and even toys for all the kiddies. I mean, what child wouldn't want to buy toys from this? In short, this alien is a boss. But like most franchises, there were several high and low points for the big guy. Even though this series doesn't have nearly as many flicks as Jason and Freddy. But as you can guess, we're here to specifically take a gander at the Yautja's movies. I love this monster, but sadly he didn't have a flawless victory in all his journeys. What do we view as his S-rank trophies or his embarrassing scars? Well, grab your weapons and prepare to fight your way through hell. This is our ranking of the Predator Saga.
Terrified and on the run, we're hunted down by aliens. Poached like we're animals, yeah, we're no longer the predators.
And the award for Worst Predator Movie goes to The Predator. Oh yeah, you all knew this one would be low tier on the list. The Predator might honestly be one of the worst horror movies of all time. And I'm saying that despite seeing Halloween Resurrection, Freddy's Dead, and Jason Takes Manhattan from the Muppets. The Predator is a painfully gross mess. It's got the most annoying cast, awful special effects, laughably bad writing, lame action, piss-poor continuity, and worst of all, awkwardly unfunny comedy. Oh yeah, this is the Predator film which tries to dabble its hand at comedy. Comedy! Yeah, I know the other Predator films did have their funny moments too, but that's all they were. Funny moments. Not entire comedy bits which drag on for far too long and are not even clever. If you thought Elm Street had pathetic wacky gags, wait until you see this.
Everything okay back there?
But don't worry, the serious plot is equally garbage. We follow a generic soldier guy and his stupid mentally challenged son who accidentally stumble upon the crashed remains of a Predator pod and steal his devices. So a corrupt government agency led by Black Lex Luthor try to track them down in order to study the Predator race, offing anyone in their way. But a super Predator agent arrives to complete a mission the dead Predator failed at. Generic soldier guy gets captured and taken with a bunch of loony military vets to the nut house, but they escape, get into cringy hijinks, and head off onto a mission to save the boy before Black Luthor or the Predators get to him first. You see, the stupid kid gets his hands on the Predator tools, which his dad hid at their house, and he also gets into painfully crappy hijinks with them. The boy apparently suffers from autism because forced diversity, but if you can believe it or not, this is actually a plot point. The movie's granddaddy of all twists reveals that the Super Predator isn't really here on Earth to retrieve the stolen equipment or files, but to really capture the autistic kid because the Predators want to genetically enhance themselves with the power of autism. This is where the film goes from plain bad to outrageously bad. The autism thing. Oh, lordy Lou, the autism thing. The film poorly tries to represent autistic people by having this kid be an underestimated genius who has benefited from his handicap, and is ultimately the person who saves the day, thanks to his genetics. A noble sentiment, sure, but it is not executed well in the slightest. The morons who worked on this film have no clue how autism functions, and their attempts to make these people feel better suck hard.
You know, a lot of experts say that being on the spectrum isn't really a disorder. It's actually the next step in the evolutionary chain.
Yep, you heard that right, folks. Autism is the destiny of human evolution. I'm so glad I'm a cat. This kid is officially the worst element of the Predator franchise. They even give him a moronic subplot where he befriends a mentally handicapped space dog to grant this crap heartwarming feels. 'Cause what this horror series about a space poacher slaughtering humans for sport was missing was a love story between a mentally challenged boy and his space dog. But even stupider, the Predators want to harvest this kid so they can get their claws on his sweet, tasty autism and evolve their species from it. I know it's been stated before, but it bears repeating. The Predators want to weaponize the magic of autism. It is officially canon that Predators want to become autistic.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Yep, we've touched peak stupidity, Wolfpack. Ironically, despite wanting to represent folks who are autistic, it does more to harm them. This storytelling is just that horrendous. It even damages the Predator's rep. How can you not call this bomb total doggy-doo when the plot is the aliens want to download autism? Aside from that bile, the rest of this movie is just as bad. Keegan-Michael Key and the Punisher are in this, and they are unfunny to the max. I swear, every line they have is a cuss word or a bad joke. I legit prayed they would be dead before it was over.
What's the difference between 5 big black guys and a joke? Baxley's mom can't take a joke.
Thank you. None of the loony soldiers are memorable or likable, so you don't care who lives or dies. There's a rather pointless hot scientist girl, played by Psylocke, but she's just a wasted character. And here for more of the bad comedy, Gary Busey's son is in this as a side character, but he vanishes before the halfway point. The CGI in this is flat out vomit. This might have the ugliest effects of all the Predator stories. It's pretty bad when Requiem looks superior compared to this. The Super Predator sucks. Sucks as a concept and as an effect. He's entirely CGI and looks so laughably fake that I could not take in his scary scenes seriously at all. This bloke was gonna replace Predator Classic, folks. Black Luthor and his villain crew are also lame. It was cool to see human antagonists in a Predator story, but the movie crushes their villainy by making them too dumb to live. I swear, there's a goofy comedy routine where the human bad guys actually kill themselves. They try to use the alien gizmos and take themselves out. All that build-up and complex writing only to turn them into a joke. This is F+ lame.
You serious?
Shane Black directed this film, but according to him, executive meddling destroyed his core ideas for the plot. So as a result, a ton of the bad decisions ripped the movie apart as a whole. The decision to retcon the Predators from elite hunters into alien invaders plotting to annihilate the Earth had decent ideas, but was just wasted and poorly handled. I thought the Predators worked fine as scary hunters who saw humans as just another species to toy with, but for some reason the filmmakers wanted to make them an empire, genetically engineering their kind with autism and crap to become tougher, which is just dumb. If you want the Predators as space invaders, then please, make a movie about a war between Earth and the Yautja. You don't need all this build up to a greater cinematic universe BS. By the way, this secret invasion twist completely contrasts with the plot points in Alien vs. Predator, where the Predators wanted to prevent alien invasions. And even parts of the solo Predator films, where the hunters did show respect for humans.
Great continuity!
There's seriously a sequel bait scene of the humans unlocking a Predator Iron Man suit to ready for that huge epic war we're totes going to get in the sequel. Oh, and the autistic kid gets a hilarious job as a government scientist working alongside his daddy. Screw this movie. The Predator? More like the pathetic turd. I should write for Keegan-Michael Key. I'd go in deeper, but this movie has already been demolished by The Critical Drinker, Decker Shadow, and even Mauler, so everyone knows this is bad. The fan base views this as the worst of the primary Predator tales, and it's not hard to see why. Don't watch it. It's bile. Do what all the sane have done, and consider it non-canon. Or better yet, use this film's discs as coasters for your cold ones, as you enjoy the good movies. I'd badger on even more insults, but the crappy film saved me the trouble and does it for us.
I guess you'd call it the Predator Killer.
This was another infamous movie, which most fans hate, since it killed the joy of seeing the Predator and alien monsters collide due to a lackluster rematch. There are quite a number of flaws in this movie, some of which do pull it down low on my list, but to be honest, I actually didn't think this movie was that bad. In fact, I'm one of the few people who actually found a lot to like about this film.
Did he just say, aye, he did?
Well, it's not enough to save this film since it's still pretty low, but I really thought Alien vs. Predator Requiem did have its good moments. Though, let's get the bad out of the way first. The human characters in this film are easily the blandest. Not many of them are too irritating, but all except for the two brothers are very forgettable. The human drama is not very engaging. Some of it feels like it was copied right from the CW. The teen brother has this cheesy romance subplot, and it feels schmaltzy as heck. This movie also gives up on making the humans badasses, or at least competent. Instead, most of them are every stereotypical cliché horror character you can think of. We have partying teens, grizzled cops, innocent kid characters, the stoners, and even generic idiot bullies. Yep, before the pathetic turd, we actually have both a Predator and Aliens movie resorting to using idiot bully characters. How far we've fallen. But hey, at least we can enjoy these stock morons dying. And honestly, that's why I can love this one a little. Alien vs. Predator Requiem is not afraid to embrace being an R-rated slasher movie. This has some hardcore violence for both our epic hunters and his rival aliens. I know it's nothing special nowadays, but I absolutely love the idea of seeing what it would be like if Predator and Alien invaded the normal suburbs. We've seen them in foreign regions, space, and whatnot, but I did get some amusement seeing how our modern day world would react to these horror monsters taking over the world.
Of course.
I'm glossing over most of the plot, but it's simply straight to the point. The Predator ship from the first crossover movie crashes in a small, quiet mountain town on Earth where the xenomorphs from the Alien franchise escape and infect the human world. While a Predator agent lone wolf comes by to exterminate the pests before they infest their future pad. And some human idiots do stuff in the back. It's mainly for the death battle. And to the Strauss brothers' credit, their special effects are awesome. They did use a ton of practical effects and managed to show off some dynamite bloodbaths here. While the first Alien vs. Predator was sort of held back by the dreaded PG-13 rating, this movie goes balls to the walls brutal on its fight scenes. Predator and the aliens slaughter and violate enemies all on screen and get savage with the kills. However, for every great scene, there were naturally some terrible ones. I don't usually comment on this, but this film has some of the most abysmal lighting I've ever seen. Or lack thereof. Every time I saw a cool monster scene, the movie would follow up with visuals that are so dark and badly lit that you cannot make out a thing. I love both these monsters, but it kept pissing me off when they were too obscured to see. It's a darn shame too, because the action is quite decent. when you can see it, but the director and crew couldn't make it look better. It looks great on a big screen, but if you watch anywhere else, prepare for a movie as dark as Fan 4-Stick.
A close-up, you jerk! A close-up!
The movie also indulges in the typical idiot moments. While the first crossover movie wasn't immune to dumb decisions and horror stories either, this one almost has it worse, to the point where some of their silliness kind of suck out the tension.
I think the Colonel was lying.
That's crazy. The government doesn't lie to people.
To be fair, it's still funnier than the pathetic turd. There's also discount versions of Ripley and Newt in this film, and they are so uninteresting. They're just there to remind us of the better Aliens movie. Which reminds me, the Predator gets a lot less love in this film compared to the Aliens. Now, I love the Xenomorphs, but here, they get more favoritism over the Predator. It's kind of upsetting, seeing as how this is about the Predators too, yet the Xenomorphs are the main focus. Even the Pred-Alien hybrid ends up joining Team Alien instead of sharing the perks of both monsters. Though, that being said, it is cool to see what an alien invasion looks like. Plus, as limited as the Yautja is in this, he does gain some epic moments. He's even the anti-hero who truly overcomes the hybrid monster in one of this film's coolest final fights. So at least he keeps his dignity and not get punk killed by a super predator. There's also a disturbing part of me that admires how this film straight up kills off women and children too. Nobody is safe. There's a large portion of innocent deaths in this movie, many of which are kids and even pregnant ladies. The Pred-Alien literally tentacle rapes pregnant women to death to turn their fetuses into more alien babies.
Oh, God!
The R-ratedness is strong with this one. I did also care for the two bros, as simple as they are. The little bro goes from a loser pizza boy into a badass man bravely killing aliens, while the older bro is an ex-con trying to redeem himself. Nothing too deep, but you do kind of root for them over the bland idiots just there to die. It's clear that this movie wanted to be more of a popcorn thriller rather than some world-building expansive universe like the MCU, despite their best efforts to weld the Alien and Predator worlds together. It does deliver on the battle between Titans plot, grim horror elements, and continues showing us why Alien and Predator are super cool, but the story is still meh, the human drama is unremarkable, and the lighting does kneecap this action-adventure since we can't always see the carnage. I agree that it's not on par with the gold standard horror masterpieces, but I truly don't think it's the worst scary movie like some folks claim it is. This is the type of movie you'd see just to enjoy the monster kills, and watching your favorite horror villains looking good while doing it. Overall, not masterful, but decently serviceable. Worth watching for the clash, but not worth staying for the aftershock.
Get to the chopper!
Alright, now we approach the fan favorite titles. Predators was a highly anticipated sequel created after the crossover hype with Alien died down, in order to grant the extraordinary extraterrestrials another fun solo journey, diving into their lore and paving the way for a new trilogy featuring a cast of quality talents. And this was... okay.
You bastard!
Yeah, I know tons of fans love this flick without question, but I'm kinda in the middle. I did like this movie, but I didn't totally adore it. The tale does pack some awesome scenes and some of the greatest ideas this franchise ever made, but sadly it did not overshadow its older siblings. In this story, we follow a group of morally ambiguous badasses comprised of mercenaries, soldiers, gang thugs, and criminals being trapped on a predator planet and hunted down the most dangerous game style. These terrible people are forced to work together if they wish to survive and escape the alien arena or die trying. Now that is actually a pretty dang impressive premise. I thought it was a stupendous setup. However, this film lacks that extra flair all the older movies had. I think it's because the older films were about introducing and building off of this monster, while this film is treated as merely another Predator adventure. We get 3 Predators this time instead of the usual 1, and the human characters all have their own cool backstories. But the pacing in this movie is so slow. There's quite a few wasted concepts, a few too many callbacks to the Arnold movie, and most polarizing of all, some viewers found it difficult to get attached to the quote-unquote heroes. Now, I did like most of the cast, but I completely understand not wanting to root for a team of war criminals and rapists. It does make sympathizing with them nearly impossible when half the cast brags about their evil misdeeds.
I'm gonna rape so many fine bitches. Be like, what time is it? 5 o'clock? Time to go rape me some fine bitches. Know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Totally. It's like 5 o'clock. Bitch raping time.
Luckily, I did love some of these guys too. Mainly the ones who did get badass moments and nice scenes. Unlike most people, I thought Adrian Brody was alright as our anti-hero lead. He does this weird Clint Eastwood voice, but otherwise he was fine. He's no Arnold or Glover, but he definitely looks and performs like an action star. I thought Nikolai the Russian soldier had an epic send-off, and he most of all deserved the classic "You're one ugly mofo" line. Speaking of epic send-offs, my favorite dude in this was the Yakuza warrior Hanzo. He has the most entertaining moments in this, and even gets the golden battle sequence in the movie. This story has a classic samurai showdown between a Yakuza martial artist and a freaking predator. Paws down, the coolest scene I've watched in my 9 lives.
Fatality.
Though, for as much epic badassitude as this movie has, it does come with some drawbacks. There's a lot of boring wandering the jungle footage. The main characters spend half this movie putting it together that they're being tracked by aliens. And there's some retread of telling the audience about what a predator is, which only tells us what we already know. Also, this film has one of my personal most hated additions to the franchise: the Predator dogs. Oh, sweet Celestia, the stupid Predator dogs. I despise these things with a bloody passion. Now, my sibling Wolf and I have actually debated over these animals, seeing the pros and cons of them. Wolf sees the hunting dogs as a cool concept, since they act like an old-fashioned hunting party where the canines led the poachers to their prey. They get a lot of cool fight scenes, and they're a terrifying reminder of the power predators have in the hunt. But in my cat eyes, I see them as annoying video game minions who rob the hunters of half their fear power. The predators are trying to prove how epic their skills are, so why would these poachers want to rely on hunting dogs doing most of the hunting for them? Wouldn't a predator want to do the hard part on its own to show off how they don't need a crutch? It just feels like an interesting idea which the creators didn't think all the way through. Not helping matters is the dogs would get an awful subplot in the pathetic turd. Ugh. Also, this movie has Morpheus in it, and he's legit cool, but I was a tad disappointed how they wasted him. Morpheus is very amusing in this, and has more layers to him than half the red shirts here. But they relegate him to the exposition guy telling us about the plot, and just when he gets incredible as a good twist villain, they kill him off.
Finally found me, huh, big dog? Well, what took you so long?
Eric Foreman is in this arc too, as the geeky comic relief character. I won't spoil too much about him, since there's a grand twist revolving around him, but all I will say is that it's kinda pointless. The film treats it as this mega life-changing shocker, and you don't really see it coming, but it also felt superfluous in the end. Not bad, but I think it just needed more plot relevance. In fact, I think that's my biggest reasons as to why this film falls under meh turf. These ideas and story points are very interesting, but they aren't pulled off that well. I truly wanted to love this movie and its cast, but it only managed to win serviceable. I know it's just popcorn entertainment, and we only came to watch The Predator pummel Danny Trejo and Blade, but I only complained since this had potential to be one of the best tales ever. These are some exceptionally talented people behind this, and the characters got nicely detailed backstories, but ultimately they're just there to be target practice for the Predators. With that said, this is the last movie where the Predators are outright horrifying. We get a nightmarish taste of the scope of their power in this plot. Being abducted by aliens has never been this scary, and the Predators taking special edition toys to break packs so much terror. Heck, the Predators even duke it out with each other in this too. They are that deranged. Plus, they all got unique designs and feature some of the best makeup of the franchise, making them look as scary as they act. So, I can safely say that our monster icons maintain their coolness in this. Overall, Predators is the okay movie. It does no damage to our favorite horror saga, it simply acts as a fun expansion pack. The worst it gets is underwhelming. Yet it does have some perfect Predator points as well. I'd recommend checking it out to remind yourself why the Predators got game. Aw yeah, the epic crossover between the Predators and the Xenomorphs is 1000% a worthy film among both franchises. Before Paul W.S. Anderson was wrecking the Resident Evil series, he used to make fun, dumb, mindless action movies, with this one definitely being his best. If you can believe it or not, Anderson is actually faithful to the source material he's adapting here, as both the aliens and hunters are treated as the royally ghoulish terrors horror fans know and love. In this plot, a group of human scientists and explorers discover a lost pyramid underneath the Arctic region, where they accidentally get caught in the crossfire of an out-of-this-world war of the weirds. The Predators receive a ton of phenomenal lore and backstory in this, where we learn more about the species and see the depth these great warriors truly hide. Not to mention, Alien fans will totally enjoy this too, since the Xenomorphs are deemed the greatest worthy opponent the Yautja have ever fought, and boy do they live up to that status. As soon as the aliens hatch, this movie spirals into the coolest horror crossover we've ever got. I dare say it's almost superior than Freddy vs. Jason. Almost. I do have a few nitpicks and issues. So far, this is the only Predator and Alien film which is PG-13.
Boo!
Yeah, you heard that right. Alien and the Hunters have a PG-13 rating, meaning that tons of the edgy violence is toned down. But an even larger problem I have is the human characters. We spend a good half of this movie following a gang of bland human OCs as they go on a Star Trek mission to study the Pyramid Arena. And only a handful of them are even good. Lance Henriksen is always a win in my book, but the shining star of this movie is Sonya Lethane, who is easily the best character. She's a very awesome hero to watch, and she's so far the only human to earn respect from the Predators. That is truly bossa nova.
You are one ugly mother.
No wonder she's one of my favorite Catwomen. Sadly, even back then, Paul Anderson sucked at writing side characters, since the rest of the cast are just cannon fodder for the monsters. They do get some nice scenes, but not enough to remember them or cry when they die. The pacing in this movie is also super weak, as we're stuck with the boring human drama for a long, painful while, since the alien eggs don't hatch until the 40-minute mark. 40 minutes! It's why this made third place. But the highlight is obviously the monster kills and grand showdown. Both monsters are gnarly in this. Some of these visuals, like the xenomorphs nearly conquering the planet, is high-octane nightmare fuel. It helps that both are equally badass. Humorously, the Predators actually receive good character development in this. In a really sweet twist, it turns out that the pyramid was a hunting arena designed by the Predators centuries ago, where they were worshipped as gods. But one day, they brought in the xenomorph as a powerful boss battle to combat, where things went wrong. They hid this pyramid away with the last of the aliens since their kind was too powerful to live, and they would not return until the Yautja were ready to take them on once more. However, those silly humans interfered with their plans, leading to the film's horrors. Sonya Lethane seriously teams up with the sole Predator in the final act, and we get the awe-striking tag team match against the scary Xenos. Yes, the Predator teams up with Catwoman to overcome a greater evil. It shows us how Predators, for all their savagery, actually hold a noble code of honor to them, and it also reminds us why the Xenomorphs are unholy demons, since everyone is afraid of them even more. How can you not love this idea? It's simple, but it's what makes this movie so much fun. Alien vs. Predator is a fun thrill ride of an experience. The effects in this wonderful movie still hold up just as well as their old school classics. The monsters maintain their dignity as horrifying ghouls to dread. The pyramid battle level is shockingly a cool area. There's some nice lore sprinkled in that makes the story almost mythical. We actually care about our action girl protagonist. The aliens are ferocious. The Predators are radical. There's love for both legends. And to Paul Anderson's credit, he does know how to make intense action sequences. I like it slightly more than Predators because it's at least short and to the point, while that sequel dragged a bit more. And do I even need to justify why it's better than Requiem or the pathetic Turd?
I don't think so.
Anderson clearly had an admiration for both franchises, and it certainly shows in this war for the ages. Alien vs. Predator does have some scratches, but it demonstrates how a dumb fun movie can still be a great movie. Whether you're Team Alien or Team Predator, we're all winners for seeing this. Predator 2, the truest definition of a love it or hate it sequel. Luckily, this is my list, so you can all sleep tight knowing that I value this film as one of the best tales of the hunter. Can anyone believe that Predator 2 was initially the most hated flick among the horror community at one point? Thanks to the franchise slipping off a cliff, Predator 2 has regained tons of appreciation it never had before, and is now regarded as the last great solo Predator movie. And honestly, I love it. I thought it was a great movie even before all the lamer follow-ups. Now, a big reason why this film was, and still is, kinda hated, is the premise. In this plot, the alien hunter begins to step up his hunting game by poaching a new batch of trophy kills in the most dangerous, violent, grim death zone on planet Earth, Los Angeles. Yeah, I'm serial. Predator 2 sort of dabbles its claws at some dark comedy and wackier scenarios. This is a choice which still bothers a few fans, but I did not think it was that bad. Especially thanks to the movie treating the monster more seriously than he was in the original, and expanding upon the creature's deep background. You see, the real reason why the Predator vacationed in LA is because it wants to prove its hunting skills by slaughtering the toughest gangsters and coppers dominating the city. We follow a gruff detective, played by the equally legendary Danny Glover, trying to solve what he believes is a murder mystery revolving around a high-profile serial killer offing the A-list gang kingpins and his fellow officers to make a name for himself, only to uncover the supernatural monster's villain scheme, which soon turns into a fight to save the world. Yeah, it is relatively silly at first, and yes, they do follow tons of cop movie cliches at the start, but once the Predator thrashes around Grand Theft Auto characters like nothing, then it gets fantastic. Controversial opinion, but I honestly believe the Predator is far scarier in this than he was in Arnold's movie. We actually see all the gory details of the hunt and learn more about the monster's culture as he collects Skull Awards Call of Duty style. Oh, and lest we remember the subway scene. Holy cow, that subway scene.
Come on, motherfucker!
Want some candy?
Let's dance!
I know we all love Arnie as the perfect alpha male action dude he is, but Danny Glover deserves a ton more respect himself. He is the man in this. Glover is of course a grouchy badass who's too old for this shit, yet he is one of the series' most underrated heroes. Some government agents show up to essentially take over the case from him, but he doesn't stand by and take their bull. Glover has an energetic badass crew too, who play off each other very well. He does get some nice character moments as the Predator offs his buddies. He gets decent action battles even prior to his close encounter, and he is legit funny. How can you not enjoy Mr. Glover's smooth charisma?
Okay, who's next?
While I can understand finding the premise a tad goofier this round, the movie feels like it wanted to go for more fun than the first did. Seeing the Predator prowling around the city leads to some crazy good stuff, and the monster is just as intimidating as when we first saw him. Much like the first story, the movie begins like it were a different genre entirely, acting as a straightforward crime drama and cop thriller, but once the monster arrives, it quickly reaches the horror peak faster than Arnie's trip. The Predator turns LA into his own personal playground, leaving behind numerous bodies and blood to strike terror in his prey. It's very gripping seeing Danny Glover and his unit slowly put it together that they aren't dealing with a normal criminal, but rather a force humanity has no knowledge of. It also kickstarts the government conspiracy gimmick, which the later sequels would struggle with. Gary Busey plays a government agent / rival cop against Glover, who is hunting down the alien invader so we can study it and its godlike technology. But of course things go awry, and the underdog Glover has to save the day, where we finally see more under these murderous hunters. And yes, one of the best parts in this is when we spot a xenomorph skull among the Predator's trophy collection, confirming that the aliens and Predators share a universe. Gary Busey and Bill Paxton are so over the top, yet it's a fun kind of over the top, since when they finally cross paths with the Hunter, it truly rips the rug from under us, since the movie gets serious every time the killer is on screen. I mean no exaggeration when I tell you that the bulk of this movie is entirely about Danny Glover fighting the Predator, yet slowly learning more and more about his OP enemy as time goes by. It's honestly impressive how this film is mainly a fight to the death, but you're more enthralled by where it's going rather than bored by all the action. With due respect, it's almost superior to the first film, since this one has personal stakes in it, and high concepts dropped on us. Danny Glover is such a likable hero, but you really care about him more once he loses his friends, and the bad guy even goes out of his way to toy with him. So now you definitely want the Predator to pay. Predator 2 has totally earned a lot more praise for all the good moments buried underneath the sillier skits, which don't even hinder the writing whatsoever. Now, yes, there are some lighter bits here and there, but it never drains any tension or the monster's threatening prominence. I can safely say that this is a good horror movie, thanks to its gnarly atmosphere, explosive action, scary monster writing, a lovable cast who you hope come out of this okay, absolute love for forming unnatural cosmic terror, grisly kills, Danny Glover's awesomeness, and escalating the scales for an upgraded sequel story. Predator 2 is an exciting sequel, and the second greatest of the Predator saga. What's number 1? Well, you definitely won't see it coming, but Predator 2 remains a slick silver medal. And the number 1 Predator title is Predator 1987. Shocking! This film is a classic, functioning as an outstanding horror movie, action icon, and a big-named Arnold Schwarzenegger adventure. To this day, it has not been outclassed, even by the other good movies on this list. I know there's some fans who love Predator 2 more, but I still value the original overall. You know the drill. Arnold, the most valuable player, and his crack team of boisterous soldier bros are assigned a top-secret mission to take down some terrorists hiding out in the Amazon jungle. We get a lot of cool war visuals showing off how epic these godlike men are, which gives us insight on their dynamic and truly sets them up as chill, hardened, badass characters.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Oh.
I swear, it's so over the top, yet so golden, that it truly does establish them as both people you care about and saddening fallen deaths, once the real plot occurs. The Predator movie honestly fakes us out by playing things up like a typical Arnold movie before the monster shows. Like I said in the beginning, what makes the Predator saga ultra scary is that the creature is specifically targeting capable fighters, making it creepy how these epic dudes start dropping at the claws of Predator like they were nothing. The real terror comes from seeing Arnie and his crew go from elite commandos to horror movie victims due to the Predator's sheer might being too much for them to handle. It opens up with these American warriors demolishing baddies like target practice, but once facing off with a monster in the dark, the tables quickly turn, as they do everything they can to escape alive. Basically, the hunters become the hunted. This film is spectacular at subverting your expectations, unlike some shite, so it was a huge surprise to see how the story goes from your usual Arnie cheese into a near John Carpenter experience, since the monster is well executed, as are his kill scores. At this point, the alien hunter is kept mysterious and shrouded in shadow, acting as a metaphor of the unknown enemies troopers faced in war. What made Predator feel deeper than the other films is that the social commentary in this tale was kept subtle and left a much greater impact through heavier writing and unsettling atmosphere, while the lower flicks were either not subtle or just aiming for cool. But Predator 1 achieves platinum for how fun, scary, and intense it reaches. As expected, all the actors in this are enjoyable to the extreme. Jesse Ventura hams it up like there's no tomorrow, Apollo Creed gets some charming development, Billy is your smooth, mysterious badass, and who could ever forget Arnold? He is still in his ace mode with this.
Yeah. Stick around.
Now there's a role model for the kids. Kevin Peter Hall also earns high praises for his inhuman portrayal of the monster. He's stupendous. Also, did you know that Optimus Prime voices the Predator? Well, that's just Prime. As you can tell, the action in this is perfection. There's lots of warfare moves, gun shootouts, explosions, and the brutal fistfight between Arnie and the Beast. The horror storytelling is quite engaging, as we spend half this narrative in a cheesy Arnie flick, get to know the cast, then once the Predator starts picking them off one by one, we get one of the most grim clashes in horror history. The jungle setting is thoroughly utilized in this, generating an unsettling arena for the heroes and the foe. The Predator is danger in its purest form. The brutal kills here are disturbing as hell. The special effects and creature makeup still look remarkable to this day. The action is solid, and do I even need to mention how quotable this film is?
Dylan! You son of a bitch.
Bullshit. You ain't afraid of no man.
There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no man. Run! Go! Get to the chopper!
The first Predator is certainly the most basic one, being about a group survival horror and trying to fight or die against an unstoppable force, yet it remains magnificent at it. Oh, Xenu, what more can I even say? This is one of my all-time favorite horror flicks ever made, so of course I recommend it. Predator was also dubbed one of the manliest movies ever made, and it 100% lives up to that title. This is a horror masterpiece with so much creativity and tension. It probably won't outdo Freddy or Alien, but I would argue it earned its horror cred thanks to the grueling nightmares and harsh drama backing it up. In this cat's eyes, this aged warrior is still the proud champion of all predators.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
And that's my ranking of the Predator Saga. So, what do you think? Do you agree? Would you rearrange them? Would you like to see more ranking videos? Well, feel free to say so, since much like a predator, nothing will stop me. I'm your host, Catastrophe, and the hunt for good horror has only begun.
Terrified and on the run, we're hunted down by aliens. Poached like we're animals, yeah, we are no longer the predators.
In my veins there is bloodlust, it's hereditary. So I'm always on the hunt, acting predatory. With this laser and my razors, I personify the danger. I was born with this behavior, I'm a brutal legislator. A hunger effervescent, my blood is luminescent. Advise you shut your eyes, cause what comes next is so unpleasant. Every one of you the enemy, I'll terrorize you endlessly. I'm back aboard the ship that tracks my movement with telemetry. Just accept it, you're dead and buried. No, I'll let you see my face before I send you to the cemetery. I kill at my discretion, uncontrollable aggression. You'll be begging me for mercy while you need a chest compression. After pillaging your planet for resources, we will vanish, leaving cities to erode and decompose just like a land. And if you're dead or re-evolved, then we'll resolve it being savage. Each species can survive, but we'll arrive again and smash it.
Terrified and on the run, we're hunted down by aliens. Poached like we're animals, yeah, we are no longer the predators.
Killing after killing, body after body, liquidating planets is the only path to glory. So you wanna fight me, not even worried slightly. You look into these eyes before you're sent to the Almighty.
Terrified and on the run, we're hunted down by aliens. Poached like we're animals, yeah, we are no longer the predators.
That's crazy. The government doesn't lie to people.